when we talk about sacredness, how do you see it applying to who you are in ministry, specifically the feminine mystique that you represent as women in ministry? How do you see and define sacredness, and how do you see yourself, or do you see yourself as sacred in that space?
I'll jump in. Rabbi Jen here. Thank you so much for the introduction, for inviting me to be on this panel with these amazing women. Um, so Jews love to mark sacred time. We recognize that our lives go really, really quickly and they're made up with these small moments, and we try really, really hard to infuse ordinary moments with sacredness. It's why we offer blessings for everything. We offer blessing before we eat, before we drink, when we see a rainbow, when we do something for the first time, when we're in nature, when we're overcome, when we're feeling grateful. We bless everything constantly. And it's because we know that if we don't, then we take for granted the world around us. And so it's really important to mark all these little things, to bring sacredness into our everyday lives. And it's really why I love religion so much, that we try to make normal things into something special, because otherwise things go really, really quickly and we don't stop and offer gratitude for them. So for me, we also believe that each and every person is created in the image of God, that each one of us is sacred. No matter who we are, where we come from, what our family structure looks like, what religion we find ourselves in, that each of us is sacred, just by nature of being alive in this world. That's a blessing. And so I'm sacred in the same way that everybody is. But I do think that women serving in these roles give half of our population an opportunity to see themselves as leaders of our people in a different way. That being able to reflect the population that we serve is really important and helps to bring out that sacred nature in each and every one of us.
I love that. Thank you so much, Rabbi Jen. Bishop Bonnie, I see you shaking your head.
I mean, I think uh Jen, you just hit on it, right? I mean, that whole notion. I mean, we share the creation stories, made in God's image and likeness, and for me, it is that we all are, as you said, we are made in God's image and likeness, and we all have that innate sacredness about us. And then I think as women in leadership, as people in leadership, um, how we can continually point to that and invite people to stop and to see it, to take it in and reflect it. For me, I a lot of my spirituality is based in a sort of a Celtic tradition, which is very earthy, very nature oriented, and as a sea kayaker, one of the things that spending a lot of time in my sea kayak in rough, tempestuous water has taught me like several things. First and foremost, this notion of awe, right? Just this, oh my God, did you see that? Just this amazing awe of being in our surroundings. And to be paddling along these amazing cliffs and having like 1,000 gannets flying over our head and just looking at that, and that awe. And then that sense of agency, because God's given us gifts and talents. And for me in my boat, I have an agency, I have an ability to move my boat, to make it dance, to get where I need to be, to use those gifts to move it. So awe and agency. And then the last bit is acceptance. There's something bigger than us, right? And on the water, we always say water will out. You got to work with the water, but you cannot conquer the water. That's hubris. Um, and and for me, that whole sacredness, a sacramentality in my tradition, an outward visible sign of God's inward spiritual grace, that is that combination of holding awe, knowing that I've got gifts, agency to do things, even if the world seems overwhelming, bit by bit, morning by morning, as the psalmist says. And then this acceptance that water will out. God is bigger. I cannot put God in a box. As soon as I put God in a box, I am committing idolatry, right? It's so much bigger. So I think as women, um, to be able to offer this, um, not as a statement of fact, but as my experience, but to know that your experience, Stancy's experience, Frida's experience matters as much as anyone else's. So, and to honor that lived experience, that to me is part of what the where life is sacred.
What an excellent segue into my statement. Because one of the things that Frida was not able to mention because it wasn't in my bio is that I have a nonprofit called Safe Sacred Space. And it has been around for 8 years as a 501c3. And it is designed for women only. And I'll tell you the short story that when God asked me to work with women, I said, women are kind of fickle. I know I'm one of them, and I really don't want to do that. And this is around the time I was in seminary. Well, all of you know that God always has his way. You can say no until the cows come home, and he's going to do it. And so by way of a few calls to do some things in some other places, it was established. And when I did it, I went, okay, so what are we supposed to do? I have nothing to talk about. And this is in my conversation with God. And he said, let them talk. And the reason for Safe Sacred Space is because women are sacred and don't realize it. We hold in so much of who we are and allow others to label us until we very often, and it's not in all cases, but we find ourselves in places where there's no one human to talk to get advice from, to release some of the stresses that we have, even in going into worship, regardless of what denomination or religion you have. And so I had these women come in and talk about some of the experiences they had had over the past day, week, month. And it was just so amazing to me. And so since that time, they have labeled it coming to the table, because whatever they're going through, there's always some woman at the table that can walk with them in the journey and give them information. In addition to that, the women range from age, well, now she's had a birthday, so she's 29 to 96. And there's approximately 60 women that are a part of it. So I find all the things that we've talked about to truly be sacred, but I truly believe that God holds women not more sacred, but helping us to identify with the fact that we are sacred and special to him.
The collective wow of just that first response. And Reverend Stancy, I appreciate the visual. First, let me step back. Bishop Bonnie, I was in flow with your story and felt the movement of the water while you were unpacking and sharing, and how powerful that is, because I believe that we as women, we are connected to Mother Earth in a particular way. And so to even have you articulated in such a powerful and pictorial way, I deeply appreciate. And Reverend Stancy, I begin to immediately imagine sitting at the table and what imagery, what impactful imagery for women, classically, historically, of gathering around the table, regardless of what it is we might be doing, from preparing food to creating things for our home, to taking care of our children, to counseling others. The table is symbolic in so many ways.